The evening air carried the gentle sounds of clinking glasses and soft conversation through the streets of downtown. Marcus Wellington adjusted his tie as he sat alone at the small round table outside Café Laurent, one of the city's most exclusive restaurants. The golden light from the vintage street lamps cast long shadows across the cobblestones, creating a scene that would have been romantic if he hadn't been dining by himself. Marcus was 38 years old and had everything most people dreamed of. His technology company had grown from a small startup to a Fortune 500 corporation in just 15 years. He owned penthouses in 3 cities, drove cars that cost more than most people's homes, and wore suits tailored by the finest craftsmen in Europe. Yet, as he sat there, picking at his perfectly prepared salmon, he felt the familiar weight of loneliness settling on his shoulders like a heavy coat. The waiter approached with practiced discretion. "Will there be anything else this evening, Mr. Wellington?" Marcus glanced at his plate, still half full of the expensive meal. His appetite had disappeared somewhere between the appetizer and the main course, as it often did when he ate alone. "Just the check, please." As the waiter retreated, Marcus pulled out his phone and scrolled through his contacts. He could call his assistant, but she had gone home to her family hours ago. He could call one of his business partners, but their conversations always circled back to work. He could call his mother, but she lived 3 time zones away and would only worry about why he was calling so late. The phone went back into his pocket, and Marcus returned to staring at his untouched vegetables and the remainder of his meal. Around him, the cafe buzzed with life. Couples shared desserts and laughed at inside jokes. Families celebrated small victories and big milestones. Friends caught up on weeks of missed conversations. And there he sat, surrounded by connection, but somehow separate from it all. "Excuse me, sir." The voice was small and tentative. Marcus looked up to see 2 little girls standing beside his table. They couldn't have been more than 8 or 9 years old, with matching white dresses that had clearly seen better days. Their hair was neatly braided with small blue ribbons, and their faces were clean, but their clothes told a different story. The fabric was worn thin in places, and he noticed small patches sewn carefully over holes. "Yes," Marcus said, his voice softer than usual. The girl on the left took a small step forward. Her sister stayed close behind, their hands clasped tightly together. "We were wondering, may we have your leftovers?" The question caught Marcus completely off guard. In his world of board meetings and business deals, no one had ever asked him such a direct, honest question. He looked from one girl to the other, noticing details he hadn't seen at first glance. Their eyes held a maturity that didn't belong to children their age. These weren't the bright, carefree expressions of kids asking for ice cream or a trip to the toy store. These were the eyes of children who had learned to be careful with hope, who had discovered that asking politely was better than going without. The second girl, slightly shorter than her sister, spoke up. "We don't want to bother you. We just thought, if you weren't going to finish." Marcus felt something shift inside his chest. "Of course," he said immediately. "Please, sit down." The girls exchanged a quick glance as if they couldn't believe their luck. They slid into the chairs across from him, their movements careful and quiet. Marcus gestured to his plate. "There's plenty here. Are you hungry?" It was a foolish question, and he knew it the moment the words left his mouth. Of course they were hungry. Children didn't approach strangers at restaurants to ask for leftovers unless they were truly hungry. The first girl nodded. "We haven't eaten since this morning. Our mom is working late again, and we spent our lunch money on—" She trailed off, looking embarrassed. "On what?" Marcus asked gently. "Medicine," the second girl whispered, "for our mom. She's been sick, but she still goes to work because we need the money." Marcus felt his throat tighten. He signaled the waiter, who hurried over with a concerned expression. "Could we get 2 more plates, please, and maybe some milk for the girls?" "Right away." "Sure." As the waiter bustled away, Marcus looked at the 2 sisters. "What are your names?" "I'm Emma," said the first girl. "This is my twin sister, Sophie. It's nice to meet you both." "I'm Marcus." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "Tell me about your mom." Emma's face brightened slightly. She works 2 jobs. During the day, she cleans offices, and at night, she works at the hospital cafeteria. She says she's going to be a nurse someday when she saves enough money for school. Sophie nodded eagerly. She's really smart. She helps us with our homework every night, even when she's tired. And she reads us stories before bed. The waiter returned with plates and glasses of milk. Marcus divided his meal between the 2 plates, making sure each girl had generous portions. He also quietly ordered additional items from the menu. Fresh bread, soup, and dessert. As the girls ate, Marcus found himself drawn into their world. They told him about school, about their favorite books, about the small apartment they shared with their mother. They spoke with the resilience of children who had learned to find joy in simple things: a library book, a sunny day at the park, a kind teacher who sometimes saved extra snacks. Our mom always tells us to be grateful for what we have, Emma said between bites. She says there are always people who have less. Marcus nodded, though privately he wondered what could be less than what these girls had. Yet, as he listened to them talk, he realized they possessed something he had lost somewhere along his climb to success: genuine contentment with life's simple pleasures. When the additional food arrived, the girls' eyes widened in amazement. "Is this all for us?" Sophie whispered. "Eat as much as you'd like," Marcus said, "and we'll pack up whatever's left for you to take home." As the evening progressed, Marcus forgot about his loneliness. The girls' laughter was infectious, their curiosity boundless. They asked him about his work, and he found himself explaining complex business concepts in simple terms. Delighted by their thoughtful questions, when it came time to leave, Marcus had the waiter pack up enough food for several meals. He also slipped the waiter his credit card with quiet instructions. As they prepared to part ways, Emma looked up at him with those wise, young eyes. "Thank you, Mr. Marcus. This was the best dinner we've ever had." Sophie nodded in agreement. "Our mom always says that kindness is the most important thing in the world. You must make your family very proud." Marcus felt a lump form in his throat. He knelt down to their level. "You've made my evening special too, more special than you know." After the girls left with their carefully packed meals, Marcus remained at the table. The street seemed quieter now, but not empty. The loneliness that had felt so heavy just hours before had lifted, replaced by something warm and full. He pulled out his phone and, for the first time in months, called his mother just to hear her voice. Tomorrow, he decided he would look into local organizations that help families like Emma and Sophie's. Tonight had shown him that sometimes the most meaningful connections come from the most unexpected encounters. The waiter approached with a small smile. "The additional meals for the girl's mother have been arranged for delivery, sir. And if I may say so, that was a beautiful thing you did tonight." Marcus looked up at the stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky. "No," he said softly. "What they did for me was beautiful. They reminded me that the best parts of life aren't meant to be experienced alone." As he walked home through the lamplit streets, Marcus Wellington felt truly wealthy for the first time in years.